Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so this is the second video today. We've got one of my first favorite 1095 straight razors that I built that we took a look at the edge with in the last video. And what we're going to do on this video is that was a 12,000 grit edge off of a Nanoa Superstone. I think apparently there's some confusion on the Superstones, or that they've had several different names of them. So it's a 12K Nanoa, whichever one it is. But honestly, I don't really believe that you need. I mean, that's an expensive stone. I mean, so let's say you get the basic starter kit of, you know, a Norton 1000, and then you get their, I think it's a 4.8. And then after that you get the, you know, a Nanoa 8K, then the 12K. I mean, you can rack up an awful lot of money really fast in stones. And so what I'd like to do over the next, I don't know, year or so, however long it takes me, is, you know, find some nice stone recommendations for those that don't want to, you know, I've probably got, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 worth of stones, you know, in my, my Waterstone rack. And I'd really kind of like it to be able to say, hey, you know what, grab this and this and this, and that's your basic starter set, and away you go. But anyways, I don't believe that you really need a 12K to shave with, or to shave comfortably with. So what I've got, a stone that's pretty interesting to me, is the Belgium blue, I guess you call it a caudicle. It's a much less expensive version of the normal white or yellow caudicle. And when I was first getting started learning how to shave, I grabbed that one, and let's see, I took a razor, brought it to a, you know, shaped the edge on like a 1K, and then went to this stone, brought it to a burr on one side, brought it to a burr on the other side, weakened up the burr, and then did a couple of extra little tricks in there to kind of get rid of the burr in a controlled manner. And then stropped it on some newspaper loaded with the green chromium oxide, and then stropped it on a leather strop and went to shaving. And I want to say it went pretty good. So, and that stone, it's a small enough stone that it'll also act like a barber's hone. You know, you could keep it in the drawer in your bathroom, and then just use it, you know, to touch up the edge when you needed to, because not everybody's got a knife shop or even a garage or anything like that they can do most of their sharpening in. So anyway, so we're going to take a look at the edge as it is right now. Remember, this edge has not touched a stone in 8 months. I want to say I touched it up on chromium oxide strop once or twice in that amount of time, and it's still shaving good. So we're gonna, but I've got to find out about this blue caudicle, you know, and lower grit shaving edges. So we're going to go ahead, and even though this edge can go for a lot longer, we're going to go ahead and put a fresh one on there. So let's examine the edge, especially around where the green dot is, because that'll hopefully that green dot will stay through the sharpening process. Actually, we might make that green dot, we might make it more of a line, and hopes that that it'll stick around for us. All right, so let's find that spot of the edge that we were looking at. And you know, the nice thing about these videos is that you can stop and rewind and go back and look at what the edge looked like before and after, you know, different after we do different things to it. There it is. Okay, so let's get the green spot in the frame there. Okay, so this right here is what the edge looks like right now. Like I said, I believe I honed this on a Nanoa 12K, then used it for 8 months. It's seen the strop, well, you know, you strop before and after every shave, but I want to say it's seen the chromium oxide strop twice in that 8 months. So anyway, so that's what our edge looks like. Now we're going to back out here, and we're going to kind of extend that green dot out. Okay, so it's going to be between those two marks. In between those two marks right there. Okay, so we'll come over here and check out my sharpening setup. Hopefully we can get you in a good spot where you can see what it is that I'm doing here, and get you in a spot that I can still work without bumping into you. Okay, so I installed a sink in the shop a year or two ago, and boy, let me tell you, this thing is a lifesaver. I mean, if you guys have ever walked into the house with you know, greasy hands and left grease fingerprints all over the phone and the counter and all that kind of stuff, had your wife beat you over the head with a cast iron skillet, you'll understand I really mean lifesaver. So anyway, so before I start honing, I typically like to clean everything, because this is a knife shop, so you get dust all over the place. And I'd much rather keep mostly clean water inside the sink when I'm, you know, honing. So anyway, I've got a 2x4. It is a little bit warped because it stays wet when I'm honing, so I've got a wood shim in the back so that it won't rock quite as much. There we go. Now we're pretty steady. And what I've got here is a suehiro 1/6. But we're not going to use it right off the bat, I believe. And then I've got an old piece of t-shirt, and then we're going to put that down. And you can see maybe this wasn't the one I was using last time, but it'll work for today. And then this is that Belgian blue caudicle. I went ahead and dressed this stone off with an old Smith's. Let's make sure you're still in the... with an old Smith's interrupted 325, and then kind of knocked off the edges so that, you know, it's not you're not going to hit them as much with the edge. And it's been a while since I used this stone. I think this side right here was the side I dressed, so we're going to go ahead and just dress it off right quick. Okay, we'll dress that, we'll dress the corner, we'll dress the other corner, and then we'll get rid of some of that slurry there. Okay, so this right here, I want to say it's a 6x2, and we'll grab a measuring stick. We have got 2 inches wide by 6 inches long, and I want to say I gave $50 for this stone or so, which, you know, might sound like an awful lot, but boy, you start getting into razor hones, and those things can get really expensive in a hurry. Okay, so we're going to keep some water on here. Now, when you're honing razors, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's a little bit different than knives, okay? This one isn't really so bad. This is like a... I think I'd call that like a 1/3 hollow or so, something like that. So it doesn't flex as much. The edge will flex on the stone with the amount of pressure that you need to get the stone to cut. The 1/2 hollows, 1/3 hollows, 1/4 hollows, those really aren't so bad. The way I make a full hollow, they're shoulderless, and so I leave a little bit more meat inside the grind, so that it doesn't want to flex away from the stone so much. But anyway, we are going to take a quick stroke on either side. Maybe we'll do 2 or 3. And then we're going to stick it up underneath the scope and see where we're contacting. Let's just dry it off right quick. Because remember, if you'll remember the video of the using a magic marker as a sharpening aid to see where it is that you're contacting. Let's bring it up in here. There's the edge. Where's our green spot? There it is. Okay. So see, we are mostly contacting back here. and not up here at the very edge. So we've got a little bit of work to do. But what I'm going to do is, you know, on this one, we're just going to go ahead and do the burr method, because there's something I want to take a look at on that. So we're going to bring a burr up on one side, and we're going to sharpen it just like it's a knife. Okay, so now when I'm sharpening here, I'm putting just enough pressure that I can feel the stone cutting. Okay, and it's a pretty slow cutting stone, but we shouldn't have a whole lot of material to remove here. And also, I'm kind of torquing. I mean, the spine and the edge are both contacting at the same time, but I'm kind of putting a little bit of thumb pressure right there to kind of torque it to where the edge gets more pressure and the spine acts mostly as a guide. We're not even close there yet. Let's take a look and see how it looks underneath the scope. There we go. Okay, so we're going to drop back and punt right quick. See how all of this is a scratch pattern from that Belgian blue, right? This is a scratch pattern that was left over from the last time I honed the razor. Okay, so this right here is a perfect example of why I say folks usually start off on too fine a hone. I suppose I could keep doing this for a little bit, but honestly, since we're behind the camera, we're going to go ahead and drop down to the that Suehiro 1/6 and bring it all the way back up, because this is going to take probably another 3 to 4 minutes on each side. It might be about same how much time it's going to take. But we'll go ahead and do the whole deal. Oh, that's right, I left this stone up underneath here. Okay, so on this one, the brown side is the coarser side. And we need the razor. Okay. And you can hear that this is a much more aggressive stone. Now, when I'm sharpening this side, remember how on the first side I said I was torquing the blade in with just my thumb? This one, it's kind of, I'm pinching here and kind of torquing it like that. And just trying to keep it nice and smooth and nice and light, and trying to hit all parts of the blade mostly evenly. Okay, I'm starting to pick up a little bit of a burr up towards the point. And it could have been that the strop is, its whole claim to fame, besides cleaning the edge, is that it kind of rounds over the very tip of it. And so it could be that chromium oxide and just normal stropping is a little bit more abrasive than what you might think. And so it's actually removing more metal than what we think it is, and that might be why the scratch pattern was on the bottom of the bevel. Honestly, I've only played with this microscope a little bit. You know, I picked it up in February, and then finished up a couple of razors, worked on it some, you know, got some really nice edges to test out, and on the razors that I was finishing up to sell, and then I really haven't played with it a whole lot since then. Okay, so I can feel a burr back here and up to about there. Now this burr that I'm feeling is very, very light. Okay, it's not anywhere close to the same kind of burr that you will make with normal knife sharpening stones, like the crystalline coarse fine or the DMT 325 or the Smith's 325. So this burr is a very, very light burr. I would say it's probably, you know, a sixth or a seventh as much as a normal knife sharpening stone burr. But what I was looking at in that, can't remember which video it was I shot on Friday, but I pulled up a burr with the crystalline coarse. Okay, so I still got the burr back here, but it's still not quite there up in here. Pulled up a burr with a crystalline coarse, and then, now granted, you know, this is, you know, we're shooting videos here, so I've kind of got like a little bit of a time crunch going on. You know, plus I'm behind the camera, so everything, you know, is a little bit different. You got the camera to have to worry about working around with your body position, and then, you know, trying to say, you know, trying to not screw up and say something that you probably shouldn't. So working in front of the camera is quite a bit different than just working. Can't quite tell if I'm feeling a burr up there, but I definitely got it back here. So we'll work on this side a little bit to kind of keep things mostly even. And you will find with sharpening razors that the heel usually gets worn away a little bit quicker, or you bring up a burr quicker, because that's closer to where the pressure is. Yeah, I think I can feel, I'm starting to feel stuff. I'll go a little bit more. Uh-oh, my camera just timed out. Okay, I think I got a pretty good one going on here. So we'll go ahead and dry the blade off and try not to scrub our magic marker mark off. Put it on video. Okay, we got a nice even scratch pattern going on here, and we got a little bit of stuff up here at the very edge, and that's that burr starting, the burr from the side. See where pretty much what's happening there is that the steel, you know, you're getting a burr and it's getting worn, so your actual edge is going to be, you know, right, let's get a pointer here. Your future edge with the burr is going to be right behind where the edge is now, you know, because we're going to have to get rid of that burr. So let's take a look at the whole thing from heel to point. Way up here. There we go. Okay. We need a little bit more work up in here, right at the heel. Oh, and there at the base of the heel. Now remember, this stone is also going to be, you know, it's more aggressive, so it's going to be tearing chunks of the steel out of the side in addition to the edge in some cases. But we're looking for that nice scratch pattern, and if I can think I can feel a burr, then we should be pretty close. Because we don't want to get too carried away with the burr on this one. Because then that's just a heavier burr to have to remove. And what the heck, why is it... Oh, the battery's almost dead. Okay. Oh, it's so dead that it can't do any more of that. Anyway, so, I guess I'm practicing more on my editing. Let me go ahead and swap this. I'm going to shut you off, swap the battery out, bring up a good burr on the 1000 grit and to where it looks really nice, and then bring you back. So we'll talk to you here in just a little bit. Okay, we're back. So I swapped out the battery and the camera up here, and went ahead and worked on both sides. It only took me about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to finish getting a burr on either side. And I've got you zoomed out a little bit just so that, well, actually we'll go in all the way again so that you can see what this looks like. Okay, so see how we've got like some of these jagged parts up here? Okay, this is what I saw in that other video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take some steps. So now remember, this burr, the bevels and the very cutting edge, you know, this part right here, are all going to be at the grit size of this stone that we set the bevel on, right? Okay, so in this case, all these scratches are all 1000 grit. All right, thereabouts, you know, however tight the manufacturer can hold the grit size on the stone, plus any of these metal particles that have flaked off and are sitting on top of the stone or are embedded in top of the stone. So what we're going to do is we're going to strop the blade on this 1000 grit stone, see what a difference that is going to make. But we're going to go ahead and you know, take a look at the entire edge. And what stropping is going to do, stropping on the stone is going to do, is it's going to take, alright, so like right here, okay, so this part, see this little chip right here? And there's a couple of them in here. There's a chip there, there's a part where a burr is about ready to flake off right there. Anytime you go this way on a stone, so you're pushing the edge into the stone, right? Like you're trying to cut the stone. Okay, well, not only are the sides of your edge bevels getting abraded by that 1000 grit stone, but it's also those, the stone particles are getting pushed into the edge. All right? So we're going to do some stropping, and what that's going to do is stropping on the stone. What that's going to do is it's just going to abrade the edge bevels. It's not going to push those stone particles into the edge because it's going to be dragging back along it. Okay, so we're going to do that as a step to kind of refine this 1000 grit step. And now I think you kind of got an idea, so we'll back it out just so it goes a little bit quicker. And what that's going to do is it's going to start setting us up so that we can use the burr-based sharpening method, alright, so that we know when to start or when to quit at each step, because we're going to use the burr to let us know when to quit. There's our magic marker point. We'll zoom in a little bit on that point just so that, you know, we always have one point of this edge here as a kind of a reference, so we can go back and check all the pictures. You'd be up in here just a little bit. Nope. Right there. And see how it's got quite a few places where the stone has impacted the edge, and then where the edge is about ready to flake off from the burr. Alright, zoom back out. Focus it back up. But you can see how the scratch pattern is all nice and even. You know, it starts here at your transition between your edge or your blade bevels and your edge bevels, and then it goes from that transition clear to the edge. That is what the burr is doing for us, letting us know when we're there and when we're not. Now there's this one spot up here around the point, which we should be coming up on, where you can tell that I didn't get, you know, a heavy enough burr to be able to feel it. I mean, the edge looks really nice, but we need to be able to feel that burr so that we can tell when it's time to move on to the next step. Because like I said, you know, you guys probably aren't going to have a microscope like this. See up in here? There's still, this scratch pattern isn't there. This scratch pattern right here isn't all the way up to the point, and there's still some nastiness up there. So we'll put a little bit more pressure on the right side of the blade when we're stropping, and that'll take care of that. Alright, so let's get you back over here, and we will do some stropping on the stone. Bring the screen back up. Trying to get you a little bit closer. There we go. Okay. Alright, so remember, when we're pushing forward and cutting into the stone, not only are we abrading the bevels, or the edge bevels, but bits and pieces of that stone are getting pushed into the very cutting edge. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to strop some. Heel to toe. Now, while I'm stropping, even though I'm kind of lifting up on the back of the blade to get towards the point, the spine and the edge are both still in contact. So this is a different way to weaken the burr up a little bit. And I'm just barely feeling the burr on that side. I mean, just barely. So on this side, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, now let's take a, let's see, this side was what we needed more work on the point. Alright, dry it off a bit, check it up underneath the scope. Okay, so we're going to check this point out up here first. Oh, where are we? There we are. Still need a little bit more work, but you can tell it's quite a bit cleaner up in there. Now this scratch pattern is going to be a little bit different because we weren't going this way, we're coming pretty much straight back. Alright, so see how we got some of them straight back scratches here. We've still got the majority of the side to side edges, and you can see how we're starting to get bits. Oh no, that's the towel. So we need to do a little bit more in places. But that is going to take, where are we at? There. Let's see how that's evening up our edge quite a bit more. I mean, we don't have near as many of the hard stone-induced chips as what we did before. There we go. See how everything looks much, much nicer? And most of our scratch pattern, remember, was going this way, and now it's going this way. That's how fast these Waterstones cut. Alright, let's bring you up here. Let's do a couple of more strokes like that on the 1000. And then we're going to switch straight to, no, we'll go ahead and do, we'll go to the 6K here on the Suehiro, because it's a pretty fast cutting stone. Couple of nice light ones. This right here, this stropping on the stone, friend of mine, Murray Carter, I mean, we're not like, you know, drinking buddies, or, you know, he doesn't come over for coffee or nothing. He lives in Oregon, and I live in Wyoming, so that would be a pretty long trip. But we've spoken a couple of times, and he seems like a hell of a nice guy. And I've learned quite a bit from his YouTube videos and his books. I've got both of his books, and they are really, really good books, I think. Okay, now we're just lightening up on our pressure. Now remember, right here, what we're doing is we're not really so much, you know, sharpening anymore, or shaping anymore. We are kind of setting this edge up on the 1000 grit stone, so that will take an awful lot less time on the 6000 grit side. Okay, let's rinse that off. We don't want any of the grit that's still, you know, 1000 grit. Actually, I probably want to wash that off. Get rid of all that 1000 grit slurry. Now let's just dress this up right quick, flatten it, and get, you know, rid of that top layer of stone that's you know, can pick up oil and grease and whatever. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to our angled motion, right? Now this right here, 6000 grit, is about where I can't feel the burr anymore. I don't know if it's because the burr is too fine for me to feel, or if it's because my fingertips, you know, I work with my hands, so they get calloused up, and you know, the skin's pretty hard on my fingertips. I don't know if that's reducing my ability to feel that burr or what, but sometimes I can feel the burr at 6000, sometimes I can't. So we're going to get a nice scratch pattern going on that side. See, I can feel some of the burr up in here, and then it kind of goes away back in here. So we'll work on that side a little bit more. Remember, that burr is telling us when to stop if we can feel it. Because that burr is something you don't even need. You don't even need to be able to see the edge. There we go. We feel good on that side. I mean, honestly, by using the burr, I mean, I've never done it, but you know, you could potentially sharpen a knife without even being able to see the edge at all. And I think Murray Carter did a video on that a while back where he sharpened a knife with a paper bag over his head so that he couldn't see. That's the kind of power that the burr gives us to be able to know when we're done with each step. Okay, so I can feel the burr here. It lightens up in here, and it's kind of gone on this top part. Now, when I'm putting my fingertips on the blade up here, you know, I'm not so much pushing down as I'm applying a little bit of top pressure so that it kind of smooths the blades right on the stone. You know, so it doesn't want to bounce around on top of the stone quite so much. There we go. It came up a little bit. We need a little bit more. But remember, that's also that point that needed some more work. And a lot of times you see guys doing, you know, like normal X strokes on this. And that's good. You know, it's a good way to maintain an angle and everything. But honestly, there again, you're still pushing the edge into the stone. And remember, on a razor, we're not going to do a micro bevel. The micro bevel, if you could call it that, would be caused by the strop. So because like in a working edge, like on a pocket knife or a kitchen knife or you know, a machete or an axe or anything like that, you know, you're after a working edge. You want a nice toothy aggressive edge that will rip and tear into whatever it is that you're cutting to get through your work just as fast as you can get through your work, because that's why you use a knife, is to make your work easier. No, it's still a little bit up at the point. On a straight razor, you know, you're not after, I mean, yeah, you use a razor to make your job easier, shaving, but you're also, that blade is contacting your skin, so you want quite a bit more comfort. Okay, so we should be just about done here with this grit. And I heard my camera time out, so let's start it all over again. Dry our, just kind of pat it dry a little bit. Bring this up, turn that to video, bring you up here where you can see. Alright, now remember, the last time we looked at the camera, we had put 1,000 grit scratches going this way, right? Then we stropped it on the stone so that we had 1,000 grit scratches going this way. All those scratches are gone now, because the burr told us that we were meeting at the edge, which meant that we had to be done on that side, right? That's why we use the burr. Now we still got some pretty good chips up in here. But remember, this is at a super high magnification. So these chips, while they might look really, really rough here, in fact, that's kind of a tough thing when you get one of these microscopes, is that now you see all this stuff and you want to fix it. You'll drive yourself crazy. Alright, so see, all of our up and down scratches are gone. And we've got sideways scratches. So now let's go back to our green magic mark so that we have the reference point. And it's kind of starting to get washed away. Okay, so there's our green magic marker point, and we can see all of our scratches are going in the right way. We've still got some of this, but remember we've got a burr that's going to be hanging on there, so that edge is going to be slightly farther back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to strop on this stone, okay, and put all of our scratch pattern going this way, and it'll start really lessening up these little divots, because now these little divots are being caused by the 6000 grit on the stone, plus any metal particles that came off of the edge and are embedded in the top of the stone. So we'll dress the stone right quick, and then we'll go ahead and do some strops on the stone. I gotta keep saying that because they're stropping on leather and linen, and then they're stropping on the stone. So we'll probably go ahead and start draining out our water here. I usually have a trash can over there. That's why I was going to do that into the trash can. And we'll rinse the top of our stone off. Rinse the top of our dressing stone off. And then we'll go ahead and dress this. Get rid of any of those metal particles that might be hanging on. And we'll wash that off right quick. Okay, now we need our razor. I'm going to double check this. We're starting to get kind of rough on time here. Now we're going to go ahead and strop. Now see, when we're stropping like this, there's no way that the metal particles and the stone, or the grit from the stone, can impact the edge. But we're near to our final finish. Okay, so this suehiro is a 6000 grit edge, and that Belgian blue caudicle is supposed to be a 4 to an 8000 grit edge. So we're going to want to do this quite a bit more. In fact, I think since we're already at 20 minutes, yep, I'm going to stop this video right now, and then we're going to start another one. So see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So I went ahead and filled the sink back up with water, just so you guys wouldn't have to listen to that. And I did probably 10-15 passes on each side with, you know, fairly light pressure. But since we're right at the end of using this stone, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to hand hold the stone, okay, so that we can really fine tune the amount of pressure that we're using, okay, which is hardly anything. Okay, you want to strop on the stone and make sure that you hit the entire edge from the heel to the point. Okay, and we are using, I mean, less than the weight of the blade. We're pretty much just using enough pressure to keep the stone in contact with the blade. And what this is going to do is really set our edge up for our finishing stone. Now, personally, I mean, I haven't, there's a thing called the 1000 grit challenge, where you take a razor and you dull it, and then you, in razor speak, they call shaping your edge setting the bevel. Okay? You set the bevel with 1000 grit stone, and then you go ahead and finish the edge on that 1000 grit stone, and then you go ahead and you shave your face with just 1000 grit edge. I think most guys strop before they shave. I haven't tried that. I suppose I probably ought to. But anyway, this right here is really going to set our edge up for our finishing stone. Okay. Let's rinse the edge off, or rinse the blade off. We'll take another look under the scope so that you can see what that did. We should have no more side-to-side scratches. They should all be pulled vertical now from the stone stropping. Mostly vertical, because remember, I mean, they'll be in whatever motion that you used the last stroke. But remember, when I was really working to get our 6,000 grit finish, I was going this way, so the scratches showed up this way. When I was stropping, I wasn't coming straight back because I was kind of wanting to get the entire edge. Okay, so there will be a little bit of curve. All right, now take a look at our edge. See how it's looking really nice. We still have a couple of these little things, but not really much to write home about. And you can see these little glints where that burr is still just barely hanging on. Okay, remember how I told you you get the burr, you refine the burr, you weaken the burr, and then you remove the burr. On a pocket knife, I like micro bevels, okay, where your last couple of strokes, if this is flat, your sharpening strokes are at this angle, and then your last couple of strokes to shear the burr off are at like this angle, right? And remember me telling you there's several different ways to remove that burr. You can shear them off like I do on a pocket knife. You can strop them off. You can pull them through like Murray Carter pulls it through a piece of soft wood to break these little burrs off, and then come back and give yourself the last couple of strokes to smooth those out. Or you can strop them off. In this case, we're going to strop them off, but we're going to lighten them up a little bit more yet. All right, let's go back and we're going to find our magic marker spot, just so that we always have the one place to keep looking at. There we go. There. See how I've got a couple of little bitty, chips still left in there, but nothing really bad. And then we've got some of this burr that's just about ready to come off. Now we're going to go ahead and really finish that up. So I'm going to bring you back around here, and we're going to go to our finishing stone, which in this case, I mean, honestly, this edge right here looks good enough. I would strop it up and shave with it. But this is going to be a test on the, you know what? No, we're just going to go with this suehiro. Because if that's the case, then I can say, hey, you know what? Buy one of these Suehiro 1/6s, and then that'll be plenty enough for you to maintain your razor at home, and then you might not have to buy another stone. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that burr left, right? Okay, so we're going to work this for another, I don't know, 15, 20 strokes, just to weaken that up just as much as we possibly can. And then we're going to go straight to a chromium oxide strop. So remember, we are not pushing this edge into a stone anymore. We are pulling it across the top. Which means that we're just abrading the edge bevels. We are not impacting the edge. And you can tell that in the scope because we have very, very few of those nasty looking chips. But remember, those nasty looking chips are not near as nasty as what we think they are, because we're at pretty high magnification here. Now we're going to go very, very light for this last couple. Okay, we're going to call that good. We're going to look at it underneath the microscope, and then we are going to strop it. Okay, let's get you back up here. This is probably the longest sharpening video you guys will ever see. Oh, let's hope it's the longest sharpening video I ever make, right? Okay, where's our green spot? There it is. Okay. Excuse me. So we have got, I think my razor's sliding on the little table. See how that big old chip, how it looks quite a bit less? And we've still got some metal flakes hanging on at the edge. So now what we're going to do is we're going to palm strop. Okay, remember how I told you palm strop before you strop on your razor to get rid of the majority of that junk that's going to contaminate your razor? So I'm going to dry my palm of my hand off on my jeans here, and we are going to palm strop some. I don't know, how about let's do, say, 10. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I can actually see some grit or stuff, junk, whatever, on the heel of my hand there that wasn't there before. So if we're getting you out close enough there. Alright, now let's look and see what we look like. Where's our green spot? There it is. Now, see how most of those little flakies are gone? The little pieces of steel that were just hanging onto the edge, the last little bit of that burr, almost all of them are gone now. Okay, so now our edge is in really nice shape to go ahead and strop it. Okay, now we're going to get to see what an edge looks like. Actually, here, take another quick look at that edge and see what it looks like. Keep that in your head now, because now we're about to strop it. Alright, grab my strop. Okay, now when I set my strops up, these are from Straight Razor Designs. Okay, I put a loop of paracord on them. Okay, what that allows me to do is keep. Okay, so you got your leather side. This is English bridle. You got your canvas side, and then you put your stropping compound on the canvas side on the inside, right? But then when you go to strop, this side right here is always flopping all over the place. So I put that piece of paracord in there, and now it keeps it out of the way. Let's make sure that you're in the right spot here. About like that. Let me grab the razor. Okay, so remember, this is a 6,000 grit edge off of the Suehiro 1.6. Now, stropping. I like to, hold it about like this. Okay, my pressure hand, alright, I pull it kind of tight and then kind of back off on it a little bit. Hold that hand against my body. Now, when I'm stropping, okay, it's pretty much weight of the blade only. Alright? Dang it, I quit counting. You do want your strop to deflect a little bit. By a little bit, I mean a little bit. Not a lot, not none. Okay, somewhere in between there. So you'll want it to deflect, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. You know, the exact amount doesn't matter as long as it deflects that same amount each time you use the strop. Okay, so you wouldn't want to strop on a tight strop one day, and then the next day strop on a real loose strop. Okay, because that'll change the angle of the stropped edge. Alright, so we're going to do, and I've lost count already, so let's do, since we're doing a 6,000 grit edge, let's do 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, at the end, don't slap that edge down. Okay, let it contact gentle. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now we're going to kind of fold this up and set it off to the side. Bring our strop down. get it ready for the next, which the next one will be linen, plain linen. Goodness, this is going to be a long video. Alright, now let's find out where our magic marker line was. There it is. Okay, now let's bring it back in focus. Now look, all the burr has been removed. Okay, and we get this nice clean looking edge. We do have a little spot up here, but that's nothing to worry about. Okay, so everything looks good. Scratch pattern looks good, edge looks nice and clean. Now let's go ahead and strop it on just the canvas, and then we'll go to leather so that you can see what those edges look like. I suppose sooner or later we'll probably have to test it and see if it shaves, huh? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Honestly, I'd be really surprised if it didn't. I mean, we got the burr, we moved the burr to the other side. We did that on our shaping stone, and then we did it on our fine stone, and then we weakened the burr, then we removed the burr by palm stropping. Then we put our micro bevels on with the strop, which I'll have to go over that in another video, and now we're just cleaning the edge up. I don't see there's any reason why it wouldn't shave. So now, on the canvas, we'll do 20. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And that's about as fast as I normally strop, honestly. I mean, you see guys sometimes on YouTube or in the movies or whatever, you know, and they are just wailing away on that 4 razor, right? I really don't see that there's a need to strop it that aggressively or that fast. Usually the faster and the harder you go on stropping or sharpening or anything, the less control you get. Oh, look at there. I am right on that green spot. See, there we go. Or can you see? Everything looks nice and clean. Still got that one little spot. That'll go away after, you know, one honing, the next honing, you know, stropping for the next 8 months. Either way, doesn't really matter. Don't get all too uptight about making it absolutely perfect. I mean, it'll shave just fine. Okay, so there we go. That's what it looks like after the canvas. Now we will come back around and we'll give it, I usually do 30 in the morning on the leather. So we will do 30 on the leather side. Where are you at there? You're back over there. We'll do 30 on this side. We'll take some hair off my arm and call it good. Dang it, I just lost count. Let's do another, I don't know, 5 or 10 or so. Just nice and smooth on the strop. Also, like I said, when you come back around, let it gently contact the leather. In fact, get it moving, then let it gently contact the leather. Make sure you lift the edge up at the end so that you don't stop and dig back in and cut your strop on the other way around. Alright, let's take one more look at this edge underneath the scope. There's There's my green dot. Now let's come back around so you can see it. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Nice straight edge, good scratch pattern. Now you can see that the tops of the scratches are starting to get a polished look to them. That's because the strop actually abrades the steel. Okay, the chromium oxide, I'm not sure what grit it is. I think it's really high, like 20,000 grit, something like that. Even the canvas and the leather will actually abrade metal away from the edge. So you take like a 6,000 grit edge. This is why, I mean, I haven't tested this all the way, we're about to, but this is why I don't believe you need a 12,000 grit edge for a normal daily shaver, because you put that 6,000 grit edge on it, and then when you strop it, every time you strop it, it takes the tops of those 6,000 grit scratches off. Alright, so now seeing how this is a straight razor and has got a delicate edge, we are going to wet my arm hair. Because dry hair is kind of rough on a razor, but wet hair is kind of like cutting a wet noodle. I hear that a beard hair has got about the same toughness as a copper wire, and a wet hair has got about the same toughness as a spaghetti noodle. Alright, moment of truth. Was Joe right? You know what? That sure looks like it's shaving pretty good. Let's take that off of there and go the other direction. Against the grain on your arm hair. So the only people that really shave their arm hair are knife makers and people who sharpen their own knives. Yep. So we got hair coming off both sides. Everything looks pretty good. Now since we got that edge wet, since we're finishing this video, let's go ahead and palm strop it to get rid of any junk that's on that edge. Okay. I'm going to give it 10 strokes on the canvas. And then I will put it up in my on my stand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this up in my my razor stand and shave with it in the morning and see how it does. Okay, again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you give straight razor honing a try. It's not that much different than knife sharpening. Couple little differences, but still extremely easy and no reason you can't do it yourself. Like I said, hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.